Let's have a look at another interest on capital sum, which is slightly different from the other sums. So this sum is about Rajan and Devan, who are the partners, who are sharing profits and losses in the ratio 2:1. They've asked us to calculate interest on capital at 6% for the year ending 31st December, and in the problem they've given us a closing balance sheet, that is balance sheet as on 31st December 2018. So in this, what are the items that they've given? On the liability side, they've given us the capital accounts of Rajan and Devan. So these capital accounts are closing capital, which is not suitable to find the interest on capital. So hence we must see that whether opening capital is given or not in the rest of the problem. Next, they have given us a profit and loss appropriation account on the liability side 40,000, and they have given sundry assets of 2,20,000. Now the remaining of the sum we have on 1st April 2018, Rajan introduced an additional capital. So they given an additional capital of 40,000, which was introduced by Rajan on 1st of April. Closing is 31st December, that you must keep in mind. Then on 1st September, Devan is introducing 30,000. Next we have is drawings of Rajan and Devan during the year. They have given 20,000 and 10,000 respectively. Profit earned during the year they have given us 70,000 rupees. So nowhere in the sum we have opening capital. So we should find opening capital. How are we going to find opening capital? If we have the opening balances of assets and liabilities, we can open out statement of affairs and find the opening capital. But here we do not have. So the other method of doing that is by opening a statement of profit or loss. So first thing in the sum, we are going to open out a statement of profit or loss for Rajan and Devan. In the same format I can do so. So I can use the two amount columns and name them as Rajan and one as Devan. So the format of the statement of profit or loss, I'm going to write it down. So closing capital, add drawings, less additional capital, we get adjusted closing capital, and then opening capital, which is the answer which we are going to find, and finally we have the profit. So now after writing out the format, I'm going to fill up the given information into the format. So I have information regarding the closing capital, which I can take from the balance sheet, which is given in the problem. 1 lakh for Rajan and 80,000 for Devan. Next I have is introduced additional capital, 40,000 for Rajan and 30,000 for Devan, which I have to enter in the additional capital column. Next I have is drawings of Rajan and Devan. So drawings of Rajan is rupees 20,000 and Devan is rupees 10,000, which I can enter it against drawings. So now the remaining, I do not know the opening capital, so I'm going to box it up. And the profit, they have given the profit completely together, that is they've given 70,000. So we have to divide the profit for the partners. But the small twist here in this sum is there is a profit and loss appropriation account on the liability side. So we are going to open out a working note for the profit and loss appropriation to be adjusted with the profit. So simple, profit 70,000 minus the profit and loss appropriation gives us a net profit of 30,000. So this 30,000 will be divided among Rajan and Devan in the ratio 2:1. So Rajan's share of profit will be 30,000 into 2/3. So 2 parts of the whole share will go to the Rajan. So 2/3. Well, how did the 3 come? 2:1. So 2 plus 1 is 3 shares they have got, out of which 2 goes to Rajan. Next we have Devan's share of profit, which will be 30,000 into 1/3. So when we calculate, we get the profits of Rajan and Devan. So this profit will be transferred into the statement of profit or loss. So in the statement of profit or loss, for Rajan, we are going to write the 20,000 which we got, and for Devan we'll be writing the 10,000 which we got in the profit. Now we have to calculate the opening capital. The remaining items are all posted into the statement of profit or loss. So when we try to calculate the opening capital, start looking into the sum where the missing figure is. The missing figure is at the bottom of the sum. So start the sum from the top. So I'm going to add the closing capital and the drawings of Rajan and Devan. So let's do column wise. So let's finish Rajan first. So 1 lakh plus 20,000, I get 1 lakh 20,000. Now the additional capital of Rajan is 40. So 1 lakh 20,000 minus 40,000, I get 80,000 as adjusted closing capital. And then I have the opening capital which is missing and the 20,000 as profit. So how can I find the opening capital? Now we've got a profit. That means the adjusted closing capital will be a greater number than the opening capital. Therefore, I'm going to subtract the 80,000 from the 20,000 to get the opening capital of 60,000 for Rajan. Likewise, for Devan, I add 80,000 and 10,000 drawings, I get 90,000, and an additional capital of 30,000 is being introduced. So I get an adjusted closing capital of 60,000. Then the opening capital is a missing figure and I have a profit of 10. So the same concept applies here for Devan also. I'm going to subtract 60 and 10 to get an opening capital of 50,000 for Devan. So now with this opening capital, I'm going to move into the calculation of interest on capital and additional capital for the partners. So first starting with interest on capital for Rajan. So opening capital into rate of interest. My opening capital for Rajan is 60,000 into 6 by 100. I get an answer of 3,600. Next, I'm going to calculate the interest on additional capital of Rajan. Because they have introduced additional capital interest also must be calculated. So additional capital into rate of interest into number of months by 12, because they have introduced it in between. Therefore, additional capital for Rajan is 40,000 into 6 by 100 into number of months from April till December. So 9 by 12. So when I calculate, I get an additional capital for Devan as rupees 1,800. So now total interest on Rajan's capital, I'm going to add the 3,600 and the 1,800. So 3,600 plus 1,800 is rupees 5,400. So next, the same way I'm going to calculate for Devan. So now Devan's capital, I'm going to calculate the interest on Devan's capital. So opening capital into rate of interest. Devan's opening capital is 50,000. So 50,000 into the rate of interest being 6% into 6 by 100. So I get an answer of 3,000 as the interest on Devan's capital. Next, I'm going to do for the additional capital. So additional capital of Devan is 30,000 into rate of interest 6 by 100 into number of months. So they have contributed on September, October, November, December, 4 by 12. So when I cancel and I get an answer of, let's find the total interest on Devan's capital. So add up the interest on Devan's capital and his additional capital. So Devan's interest on capital is rupees 3,000 and additional capital rupees 600. So the total will be rupees 3,600 for Devan's capital. Hope you understood the sum. Keep supporting. Thank you.